everybody. Welcome to another episode. Excuse me, y'all. Excuse me. I'm Mr. J Synergy. This is Synergy Talks. Thank y'all for continuing to view my content. Much love to everybody out there living during the pandemic. Today's episode is going to be something a little different. It's going to actually be a car review. The 2022 Dodge Charger SRT Ghoul with 1,000 horsepower. So if you like cars and you like muscle, you got to check this out. In addition to that, there are only 100 of these that are going to be made, and they're going for $200,000. So if you can afford that, and you got a fetish for muscle cars, check this one out. In addition to that, I also have the review for the 2021 Dodge Challenger Hellcat Redeye, and that has 797 horsepower. So that's pretty fast too. So check them out and compare both of them. If you're into drag racing, but still want the handles to be able to drive on the street, then you might want to look into this 2022. If you got the bag. 200 grand, that is. I'm Mr. J Synergy. Continue to support, like, share, subscribe. Much love to everybody out there that's breathing, living good, trying to be legit, trying to strive. Continue to do that. Keep the synergy going. It's the energy flow. Together, we're stronger than we are apart. And that's what synergy is. So, with that being said, don't not live in the matrix. And also remember that the fall will always be harder than the come up. With that, stay motivated. Stay blessed. I'm Mr. J Synergy. I'm out. Check out these reviews on these two Dodge muscle cars. Peace.
Currently, these are the types of Mopar or no cars that Dodge is producing. Now, what I want to do is I want to talk about what's going on specifically for 2021. There is a new kit on the block. It's called the Challenger SRT Superstock. It's taken a lot of the magic from the Demon, as has this Redeye has taken a lot of that magic that was learned from the Demon back in 2018. But I want to find out, the Superstock has a little bit more horsepower. It's more geared specifically for the drag strip, but is this the better way to go? Especially if you're going to be doing more driving on the streets and still want that ultimate muscle car feel, look, and performance. So let's go ahead, let's find out, is there anything different for 2021? And how should you be spending your money? Superstock or with this Hellcat Redeye wide body? Let's find out. Right off the bat, I love the way this particular one is optioned. White knuckle with the flat black hood screams muscle car. The only thing I wish they would have optioned that you can do through Dodge are the hood pins. And I'm not talking about hood pins like on the GT500 that don't really look like hood pins. I'm talking about the old school, real deal hood pins. Now, when we start at the front of the business, you're going to get that quad headlight set up just like on any other Challenger, but one of the recipes, of course, for the Hellcat, and especially this Hellcat Redeye, is how they hollow out those inner headlights to help with the airflow. You got that flat black egg crate grille design, the SRT badge, street and racing technology, but really wide, low, menacing, super wide and low on the front lip spoiler. Now what's great is that they took off the bright pink PDI protectors for shipping. I'm glad it just cleans it up, and Dodge recommends that because at the end of the day, this does go over 200 miles an hour, and that pink strip can actually mess things up. Now when we get up onto the hood, the unique touch about the Redeye is going to be this hood. I really like the way they went with this twin air inlet, fully functional. When you're comparing it to the looks of the Superstock, from this point, it all looks the same, whether you're looking at a Superstock or looking at this Redeye. Now, what's different between these and the Demon is that the Demon was 1 year only and was limited to about 3,300 units. Dodge is more than happy to produce as many Redeye, Hellcat, Challenger wide bodies, and also Superstocks that people want to buy. So there's no actual limited quantity to any of these compared to the Demon. Now, as we come around the bend, what are we working with on the Redeye wide body here? These are going to be your flat black 20-inch wheel, split spoke design, 20 by 11s. obviously going to be wrapped with those 305s because you have those massive fender flares. Look what they do with the splitter here. That front lip spoiler, that massive splitter. Lori and I actually are going to eat lunch right here on the corner. That's how massive that area is. And the way that you're getting an extra 3 inches of width to put these 305s. You got the Pirelli P0, 305 on the width, all 4 corners. Massive 6-piston calipers are going to clamp down on that over 15-inch rotor. And new for 2021 is the SRT badge. Street and racing technology. That's one way to tell if this Redeye is not a 2020. Only 2021 models, as of right now, have that change. We'll see what happens for 2022. You have the 2-piece rotor. Of course, you're going to get the adaptive suspension. Now, what's interesting is on the Challenger Superstock, the suspension is different. It's actually this Bilstein specially developed shock absorber system for the drag strip. This uses a different setup compared to that. And on the Superstock, you're going to get the wheels off the Demon with those Nitto drag slick radials that are street rated. These come with the Pirelli P0, so you'll get more wear, better driving for on the road compared to the Challenger Superstock. Now, as we go down the side, you got that Redeye badge looking good. I like the way for 2021 they went with the flat black and with that chrome finish, makes it pop right off that white knuckle fender. And then the rest of it is going to be your Challenger. I think that's one of the challenges. You see what I did there? One of the challenges that the Challenger has is that they kind of all look the same. And when you're looking at the Redeye, there's only certain specific touches, and I think that's one of the downfalls on all the Challengers and the Chargers as well. But as we go down the side, you got that classic silhouette. Nobody's doing muscle car better than the Challenger for sure. Those massive 305s out back, you're still going to get those Brembo calipers. And then as we come to the rear, this is your trunklet spoiler, flat black with the SRT badge. Now on the Superstock, you're going to get the larger trunklet spoiler. That's going to be a separator visually. And then as we drop down, you have your LED taillights. This was the change that they did in 2015. And you have your blacked out exhaust. That is a slash cut. I wish they would go to a quad tip. It would be really nice to have a quad tip exhaust. So I am going to zonk that, but the sound is amazing out of these. But speaking of sound, let's pop the hood and see what's going to be making all that noise. All right, guys, we got that muscle car hood popped. You do have hydraulic hood struts. I want to showcase, I love the way they have that opening. So to prove that that twin inlet hood works, this is where the air is going to come out of. You got your SRT badge, and where is it going to fall? Right on that open air box. Now, as you kind of go towards the center of the engine compartment, that's where you're going to see that 6.2 liter Hemi V8. It's 392 cubic inches. If you like to measure your engines the good old-fashioned way, this Redeye has a supercharger that produces 14.5 pounds of boost. That's well over the 11.6 the standard Challenger Hellcat supercharger produces. So 797 horsepower, 707 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to that Torque Flight 8-speed automatic transmission. 0 to 60 in about 3.6 seconds. Quarter mile goes by at 10.8 at 127 miles an hour. And guess what? This Redeye has a top speed of over 203 miles an hour. MPGs, if you're concerned about that, you need to go buy yourself an EV or some kind of hybrid because you're not going to like the numbers, but you know, they are what they are. 13 in the city, 22 on the highway. And the Challenger, one of the challenges for the Challenger is that older chassis that's been around since around 2002, weighs around 4,514 pounds. They did raise the RPM redline to 6,500 RPM. When you're comparing this to the Superstock, Superstock has 807 horsepower. So 10 more horsepower. They took some stuff that they learned from the Demon. This does have that chiller system where the AC will help cool that air intake so that you're getting that nice condensed air that's going to create a bigger boom. So does the Superstock, but the Superstock has some of that other technology that the Demon has to make it launch harder. And what's interesting is that the Challenger Superstock, even though it's faster in the quarter mile and just a tad faster 0 to 60 because of those Nito drag radials. The top speed is only limited to 168 miles an hour, so this thing is 203. But why don't we go ahead, let's fire up this Hellcat and hear its purr. Alright guys, we're inside this white knuckle 2021 Challenger Hellcat Redeye wide body. It is a mouthful, but you know what? It's a mouthful of car, that's for sure. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I've actually been wanting one of these. The more and more you show these on Redey's Rides, I've been wanting one of these. I saw your super stock reviews. I'm curious to see what you think. But first of all, let's get the business out of the way. Let's get to business. How much is this? MSRP, the way that this one is optioned with the demonic interior, you're looking around $90,000. Starting price with the super stock, they're pretty much the same. They're around $74,000 to $79,000. But let's see what you get for the money. When you go demonic, this one has the premium interior, all smooth finishes. I like the white contrast stitching, and the demonic interior brings that wonderful red to kind of balance everything out. You got a cup holder up front for a Yoo-hoo, and on the back side, you can get those special edition chocolate Twinkies and put them in there because you're going to be ripping through some quarter miles, I'll tell you that. Now, when we get to the dash, same story. Premium interior gives you that nice smooth finish. I love the SRT badge. Infotainment, it's all the same. There is no change. It's not like the Durango Hellcat where you have Uconnect 5 and a larger screen. But the Uconnect 4 is still great. You got all your performance pages, whether you go super stock, whether you go Hellcat, Hellcat Redeye, Scatback, they all have the same performance pages. There's really not a lot for me to show you, but when we go driving, obviously, we're going to be going into the different pages, go into those different setups, and have that red key to get all 797 horsepower. My only major zonk is that this takes forever. This should not take this long, and that's the thing. If you're using this at the drag strip, you kind of want to have it already set up, ready to go, how you like it. Now, as you drop down, you got a nice bright red start-stop button. You got your launch control. Launch control is so easy to do. You just hit this button, make sure the steering wheel is straight, left foot on the brake, right foot on the throttle, release brake, and you're ripping it down. It's going to be awesome, I promise. Stitching is great. I love this. This almost looks like it's metal. Obviously, it's plastic, but it almost has that turned machine metal look. That's going to control that Torque Flight 8-speed automatic transmission. The only bummer and the zonk is that there's no manual available, but I'm telling you, this thing shifts faster than your manual arm is going to do, and that's going to give you the more consistent times. 2 cup holders, nice soft on the armrest. We're not going to go too crazy with everything else. Seats, when it comes to demonic interior, that red, almost like a dark cherry. I love the SRT logo. Very comfortable seats, not the best seats to go do some road racing in or go do a track day on a road course. You do have manual seat controls for the passenger, but over here on the driver's side, I have power assist. But why don't you come over to the power side and the driver's side, because guess what? I do have the power, and we have a speedometer that reads over 200 miles per hour. Come on over. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel of this almost 800 horsepower muscle car. Everything is set up nice with the seats. Out of all the different muscle cars, Camaro, Mustang, and this, you're going to get the most amount of room on the interior. Steering wheel, I love the thickness. I just don't like this plastic right here. I'm going to keep zonking that. For a $90,000 car, this should be carbon fiber or something different. And I would also like the Hellcat logo, not the SRT badge. You do have metal paddles to go up and down that Torque Flight 8-speed automatic yourself, if you dare to. And then, of course, we're going to have that classic gauge layout, the 220 mile per hour speedometer over there, SRT logo on it with the digital display. It's an electric tilting and telescoping steering wheel. We're not going to talk about the trunk. I don't care right now. We're not even talking about the back seat. There's other Redey's Rides reviews with that stuff in it. Let's go ahead, get the red key, and we're going on throttle. All right, guys, we're in the 2021 Challenger Hellcat Redeye wide body. And I'm telling you, you can see it on my face. Every time I get behind the wheel of one of these vehicles, it just immediately puts a big, huge grin on your face. Comparing this to the the Challenger Superstock, I really, truly believe that this is going to be the better way to go when it comes to driving your muscle car, your almost 800 horsepower muscle car on a regular basis. All right, guys, here we go. On throttle, here we go, yeah! Woo! Oh my God! The supercharger whine, the way the power just puts you back into the seat, it just does something different than a Camaro or a Mustang. And when I say Mustang, I'm even saying the Shelby GT500. It just does something different to you. And I really, really love that about this car. Having everything laid out, it's easy to get to, tons of space. And then if you want the latest, greatest drag racing technology, you're gonna get it in here. With that power chiller, with all of the traction control, obviously, the launch control, all those goodies are gonna help you just rip down that quarter mile quicker than you ever thought. And yes, I would love a manual, but I'm telling you right now, 797 horsepower in a manual, it's gonna be so hard to get the power to the ground, really. It'd be a hoot. It's just gonna be hard to get the power to the ground. But this thing is definitely, like I said, the one you wanna get if you want the most horsepower, but yet you wanna be able to drive it more on a regular basis. Unless you take the Nitto drag radials off the Challenger Superstock, you could do that, and then you have that 807 horsepower, which is more than the Demon. The Demon only gave you 840 horsepower on race fuel and the race ECU. But here we go. Going across the intersection here. Super smooth. The seats are comfortable. Let me change lanes real quick. On throttle. Yeah. Oh man, I tell you, this thing. And I love the torque flight for not being a DCT transmission. Really does a great job with shifting through the different gears. It really, really does. And how it holds on to a gear and everything really allows you to get that power to the ground in a very effective way, which is super important, obviously. But of course, if you want to smoke them, you could do that as well. And definitely have a really good time putting a smile, not on your face, but on a lot of other people's faces, for sure. Guys, here we go. On throttle. Yeah. Smoke them if you got them. I tell you, man, this is an enthusiast vehicle, bar none. Seeing that twin bulge. Not only do you have one bulge that's massive, but you have two bulges. And like most people say, two bulges are better than one. And you have it with that twin Ram Air style hood, and like we showed you, fully functional. That's the other big part of this puzzle, is that there's nothing fake on this car, and that's what makes it extra special, and just really that performance vehicle that you're going to want to drive, you're going to want to be seen in, you're going to want to park at the car gatherings, and definitely rip it down the drag strip more than just a couple times, that's for sure. Just waiting for these cars to go here, and then we'll be able to make our U-turn. All right, guys, here we go. On throttle, here we go. A little bit sideways. That's what I'm talking about. If you know what you're doing, you can have fun with this car. I know we talk about certain cars, doing things to people at car shows and stuff. It's not the cars, it's the drivers. If you got the skills, this thing is going to pay you tenfold in what you're able to do. But hopefully this game.
A small secret now that electric vehicles are the future. And more and more are coming out, and even some states like California have already started setting dates in which gasoline vehicles will no longer be available. Dodge is well aware that the V8 engine is on borrowed time, but they figure if they're going to go out, they're going to go out with a bang, and they're going to make the nastiest muscle car ever produced. Now, this is going to be a very limited production, but this is one that if you're a collector, you might want to try and get your hands on. So for the 2022 model year, Dodge is going to take that Elephant crate engine they originally designed for off-road use only, somehow adapt enough EPA regulations to it, and put it into a wide-body Charger and call it the SRT Ghoul. That's right, you're going to have a wide-body Charger with the 1,000 horsepower Elephant engine under the hood. Now there is going to be a few other modifications to support all that extra power. Dodge said they're going to modify the suspension and chassis upgrades to handle the extra power and torque, as well as giving you a heavy-duty Allison transmission. Now, the Elephant engine alone was a limited production run, costing $30,000 a pop. Now, you add that to the wide-body Charger and all the other modifications. If you want one of these SRT Ghouls, which there again will only be 100 of, it will cost you around $200,000. That's right, I said $200,000. Now that is give or take. The Dodge said that is not the final number. The final number will be figured out and determined at a later date. But buyers will also have to pony up quite the gas guzzler tax when they order it. Now, Dodge did go on record and state, and I quote, "We could not be more excited to bring this once-in-a-lifetime, all-powerful Dodge Charger SRT Ghoul to the market for a very select few customers. They're in for a real treat unlike anything else. Reservations will begin on April 1st on a first-come, first-served basis." So that means if you want to order one of these, you can go to your Dodge dealer right now and put that order in. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of this SRT Ghoul for just a second. Now, we already know a stock SRT Redeye puts out 797 horsepower. Well, let's round up and say 800. It can be very easily modified to 1,000 horsepower. Many people have already done this. This actually isn't really that uncommon to see 1,000 horsepower SRT Redeye or even just a Hellcat. And you could do it at half the price of this SRT Ghoul. But you're not going to get that heavy-duty Allison transmission and the suspension mods that they're going to put into the SRT Ghoul. The question is, are those modifications worth the extra, we're going to ballpark $100,000 that it would take you to just modify a Hellcat? Now, the upside to the Ghoul is if you are a collector, this car is going to be extraordinarily rare at only 100 units and will probably appreciate in price over time. Will it appreciate $200,000 plus? Possibly. But that's hard to say because the car market fluctuates like the housing market. It's up and down all the time. So if you want an ultra rare car, this might be worth your investment. But obviously I want your comments down below what you think of the SRT.